One. Bingo. Okay, here we are. Here we are. Hello, guys. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us today for another podcast. Today, we're going to be interviewing a very special guest, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. We caught her right when she just finished her NPTE. She passed, and she's about to get into the work field. So, without further ado, I will let our special guest introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Dr Junious. My pronouns are she, her. I don't know. I guess I'm Dr. Junious at this point now.
Doctor,
So,
claim it. Claim it.
I guess I'll just kind of give my background. I graduated from Texas Women's University in May of 2021. I took the June/August NPTE, and I just got my results back on Monday. So
Bingo.
yeah, I'm a fully licensed PT in Texas.
Bingo,
Yeah.
bingo. And Dr. Junious, where are you from and how old are you?
Okay. I'm from Arlington, Texas.
Okay.
I am 25 years old.
Nice. And also, where did you go for undergrad?
I went to the University of North Texas.
Okay.
From 2014 to 2018.
Okay, so you pretty much haven't left Texas.
Well, it's a long story. I used to tell people I was from everywhere, but I've been in Texas for the longest.
Yeah.
So, Mississippi, Indiana, then the U.S. Virgin Islands for a little bit, and then Texas. So, yeah.
Okay, so we got a world traveler on our hands. Nice.
Just bouncing around.
Nice, cool. So we'll get right into it a little bit. I want to know, the first question I'll ask you is, and this is pretty generic, but this is just going to set the framework for the interview. What inspired you to go to physical therapy school? Is this something you always knew, or is it something that you found out once you entered into your undergraduate career?
Okay. I had no idea what I wanted to do for most of my life. I knew, I guess in high school is whenever PT, I didn't even know it was an option. It's whenever it first became an option for me. So I ran track and cross country throughout high school and then into my college career. And then in my senior year, I was doing the most. I was trying to do basketball, summer track, and train for cross country at the same time. So obviously, I got a stress fracture. And so then I went to physical therapy after it. And I just loved the idea that I could combine like being able to interact with people and make them feel good about themselves and the exercise world, because I really wanted something. Like for a little bit I was like, oh, I want to be an MD, and then I was like, I really don't like blood.
Right.
And so
Okay. Okay.
so like I was like, and then I was like, I want to be a psychologist, but I don't want to sit in a room all day. And so this kind of brought everything together: the exercise aspect, um, the medical aspect, and then the more mental health aspect as well.
Good.
So yeah.
Good. Good. So I'll ask you this: you're an athlete. I just noticed. I heard you say you ran cross country and track, and a part of this platform for me is really promoting. Yes, it is talking about physical therapy, but even if you know the channel's title, it's called Mentality ID, right? I just noticed that you said you were thinking about being a psychologist, but then you ended up going to, and then MD didn't like the blood, and then you ended up going to PT school. How important, right? And this is your opinion, but how important do you think a person's mindset, mental set, because you're an athlete, is important in their performance, and then in your case, because you got that stress fracture, the rehab? You know, do you see that people who have maybe a more optimistic disposition usually perform better, or do you think it doesn't really matter? I'm just curious your opinion on that.
I think that there are two different roads you can go down with an optimistic mindset.
Mm.
You can go down the road of it's perfect.
Delusion.
You yeah, that's that like everything's great,
Yeah.
and it works out in your favor. Positive mindset, positive results.
Right.
But then you have people who can take it to a little bit too far,
Mm.
to where you're so focused on, oh, this is everything's great, everything's good. Like you'll get people with exercise addictions. I've had a few of
Really?
those, and like just it's very much like exercise is my thing, my release. It's the one good thing in my life, and that becomes very all consuming.
Okay.
And it can be very unhealthy in that way. So I think there's a little bit of a balance there. But in terms of just your regular person who needs to exercise a little bit more, wants to get into sport, positive mindset is key to performing well.
Okay.
As long as it's not drifting off into obsession, like yeah, I think positive mindset is everything.
Okay. Now, were you one of those people that fell into that category of obsession, or oh, you
No.
weren't? Okay. She sounded like she was very familiar with the experience. So no. Okay.
That was not me. I was very much like, I was the person that was like, oh yeah, we got to get this next rep. Like we're about to crush it on the track today. Like hyping everybody else
Okay.
up. But um, I had in my life, I knew that track and field wasn't going to be my thing. It wasn't my only thing, and I think that's important.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Good. Good. So going from, because you initially didn't know, I was funny. I was very similar story. What was your undergrad major?
Kinesiology.
Okay, so I was a biology undergrad, and I was kind of
Ooh.
similar. Yeah, I for me, I just wanted to make sure that that pressure, I didn't get the shock. The shock wasn't as big because I knew if I did an easy major in undergrad, and then I went to PT school, the transition would have been too difficult. So that's why I just went with biology. But how would you say the transition, I guess, from undergrad to from doing kinesiology to PT school was it what you expected, a little bit more than you expected, or a little bit less than you expected? Because you're one of the younger ones too. You're 25. I started PT school at 25. You're a doctor, so she might be an exception. And if it is, it's okay. You know what I'm saying?
Um, it was different.
Okay.
So it was a whole different thing. So undergrad was hard because I was a student athlete. and I was in 2 different sports,
Oh,
or 3
okay.
different sports technically if you count indoor and outdoor
Gotcha.
separate. And I was just doing the most. I was like in 18 hours at one point, also in season, and trying to get shadowing hours, and I was running a charity for a little
Oh
bit,
boy.
and like when you talk about overworking yourself, you're talking about me.
Ah,
So
okay.
like I I did it on purpose because like you said, I didn't want to just go from doing nothing to
Bingo.
go into PT school. But in PT school, it was a whole different thing because like instead of being able to separate out things into different boxes, it was like all one big box. Like education is everything, and it's gonna try and break you.
Right.
Whereas like in undergrad, it was like, oh, trying to maintain a social life and do all the academic stuff and do this and work and do this and this and this. It was different types of hard. So the transition itself, um, I guess it was all right.
It's
Yeah,
okay. You
it
said
was all right.
I was a high achiever, so it was no problem for me. Okay, that's good.
I mean,
Brush your shoulders. It's all good. Hey, you're 25 and you're a physical therapist, doctor, of physical therapy. So that's that's definitely commendable. Um, Now, I know that you were initially thinking about MD. Like I said, I was thinking about the same thing. For me, it was something called physiatry or physical medicine and rehabilitation. I went, I shadowed, I said, this is not for me. What did that happen to you? Or
um,
did you go shadow a doctor? Or did you just say, hey, just because the blood, it was like, nah, I think I'm okay with physical therapy?
yeah, I didn't go shadow anyone. I didn't know shadowing was a thing
Oh,
that like do.
okay.
I didn't find that out until I was in undergrad. That not only could you do it, but it was expected to get into grad school. Um, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like I get to see what's going on. But yeah, in high school, I kind of just decided like, oh, I'm having a very hard time cutting open this frog. I don't think I don't think that MD is right for me. But then, like, fast forward a few years, I'm like in cadaver lab, like, all right, I guess.
Okay, okay. Okay, no problem, no problem. And what would you say now that you're done, right? What would you say the most rewarding thing you feel at this point, you know, because you finished PT school clearly, you finished your NPTE. What would you say the most rewarding thing for you right now? What would you say that is? Just finishing in your right mind, finishing as early as you did. You're only 25, and you're done. There's a lot of people trying to get in at 25. So what would you say the most rewarding thing is for you personally with this whole journey now that you're more or less, complete the academic part?
um, it's so strange. I never thought about that like that.
Mm.
I guess the opportunity to just do other stuff now. I've been in school for 20
Yeah.
years, like, and while that it's cool. Like I've been in school for 20 years. My every single day of every week for the past 20 years of my life has had a schedule on
Mm.
it. And now I can do whatever I
Uh-oh,
want.
don't go crazy.
I'm not go crazy, but like I can do anything, and that's crazy.
Okay.
Like I got I don't know. I need to look at the questions again, so I might be dipping into your questions for
No, you're
later.
good.
But like from high school, I got recruited and immediately knew, well, not immediately, but I knew where I was going to go to undergrad before I finished high school. And so it was like, oh, this is where you're going to go next. And then in undergrad, I applied to school and I got in within like a week of applying. And it's like, oh, this is where you're going to go next. And so now I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going to go next.
Ah,
And it's just kind of like not knowing is scary, but it's also like, wow, I could do
kind of
anything.
thrilling, yeah. So basically, you were one of
Yeah.
those kids. It sounds like your path was kind of laid out, more or less, in front of you. And now you're graduated, and That's kind of how I felt when I graduated college. It was like everything was laid out in front of me, and all of a sudden, for the past X amount of years I had been going to school, you wake up, you're constantly getting rewarded. Boom, boom, boom. All these dopamine hits, you get a good grade, you have this high, and then you got to go back to the books and studying. It's low, and then it's up and down, and you know what I'm saying? But you're constantly getting this spike, bam, bam, bam. And then all of a sudden you graduate, and it's like,
Ooh.
no one is going to punish me if I decide to achieve, and no one is going to reward me if I decide to achieve. Outside of my personal life will punish you if you decide to be a bum, or I mean, for the people who have opportunity, I'm not talking about people who have different circumstances, but then the people who for the people who have that opportunity, life really it's now really up. It's what you make it. So yeah, that's an interesting feeling. Yeah, I know that feeling. So now transitioning back to the NPTE, about how many hours did you study a week for that, or a day? Let's go a day for that.
I studied about 4-ish hours a day. There were some days I definitely only studied like maybe 30 minutes.
Oh, 30
Some
minutes, you
days
said?
that I was, yeah, but I studied for like a total of 11-ish
Oh,
weeks.
okay.
So it wasn't like I was like, all right, if I can't do it today, I can always do it tomorrow. So like I studied probably on average probably like 4 hours a day. There were some days I definitely hit it for like 6 or 7 hours, and some days where I was like, I hit it really hard yesterday, I can go a little bit lighter today.
Okay.
So yeah,
Good.
and only like I try to study only like 5, maybe 6 days a week.
Okay. And so you take a day off. That's good. And did you use a book? Like a lot of people have been mentioning Final Frontier. I've heard a couple others, but what program did you use to study?
I use Score
Score
Builders.
Builders.
So our program provided an in-person review session.
Okay.
And so at that session, like we got our review books, and we got there was someone who came in and kind of talked about like how people study and what studying can look
Right.
like and all these different things. Um, and then after that, it was kind of just on my own. I had to figure out what my own study plan was.
Okay. Nice. So let's go back to PT school. Were you describe the kind of student were you? Were you the student who was, and it's okay if you were, but the student who pretty much things clicked? Were you a student who had to just you were pulling, struggling through, crawling through, or were you kind of like that in between? Certain subjects it was breeze, certain subject it wasn't. What kind of student were you in PT school? In PT
I was
school,
a
sorry, I had someone that watched this actually tell me physical therapy school. Let's just because not everybody knows the PT school, so physical therapy school. Yes.
In PT school, I went through a couple different
Okay.
phases. In the first phase, I was the one that was in the books
Okay.
day in, day
Gotcha.
out. I commuted for probably an hour and a half a
Oh.
day. Um, and that was on the low end. So I was like, if I get there an hour early, I can beat the commute from Arlington to Dallas. So I would get there at like 6:30, 7 a.m. instead of getting there right on time at
Okay.
8. So then I had an hour to study in the
Okay.
morning that no one else was really getting. And then in the afternoon, rush hour was from like 4 to 6. So I was like, if I stay after an hour, I can miss the traffic there too. So I was getting 2 extra hours in my mind. And then when I got home, I would study some more. So I was very much on top
Uh,
of it, probably for like 2 semesters.
okay.
um, like I was organized, had everything like boom, 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 boom. Well, organized. I've never been an organized student, but I was the type where like things click. I am really good at pattern recognition,
Mm.
and that's pretty much all that test taking is pattern recognizing the patterns, um, where you see them in what you're reading, and where you see like your professors how they phrase questions and things like that. And so like what really got to me was the little assignments all throughout school where I was like, oh, I didn't do that discussion board like 6 times and stuff like
Mm.
that. But I was a pretty good. I was a good
Okay,
student. I
good,
would say
good,
that.
good, good, good. So she rocked it. She rocked it,
Yeah,
guys. She rocked it. That's good though.
I don't know why my shoulders are
Brush them off, girl. Brush them off. I feel it. So, what would you say? Okay, so you were a pretty good student, but this could be cyclic. This could be academically. This could be socially. Because I've talked to some people where, of course, you're studying so much. Sometimes something gives in your social life. Whether that's friends, personal relationships, whatever. What would you say your biggest L? And L, you can take that as loss or lesson going through this process. What were the biggest L? And that, like I said, it could be socially, academically, you pick. But what was the biggest L you feel like you took during this process?
um, definitely, my biggest L was my third semester of PT school, summer semester, so it was shortened, and everything was coming really quick. We were still in 5 classes. This neuroanatomy midterm, like I just at the time, I was telling I was a very good student.
Yeah, okay.
Up until this point, I was doing the most, pulling my hair out, trying to be like 4.0 all
Oh,
day.
okay.
Like
Oh, okay.
that was
I got you.
that
Now
was
I'm catching you.
that was the
Okay.
most fun. Um, like to where I was studying day in and day out. Like I was like, I'm not finna fail out of this program. I'm gonna be perfect.
Mm.
And so like I was pursuing perfection. When I need to, and people kept telling me like B's make PTs, B's make PTs, and I was like, I'm gonna be a great PT, and it's gonna be proven by my grades. And like I felt like I had to meet a higher standard because like as a Black woman, I was just going through this whole program. I didn't want people to look down on me or
Right.
anything like that. But oh, after my first year, like going into my second year, I had a lot of stuff just accumulate in my personal life and my social
Okay.
life, and like mentally, I was not there. The whole positive mindset, performance or whatever. I was not in a positive mindset if we leave it like that. And like I was very depressed for a little
Okay.
bit, and I had to like I went through like the counseling center at my school and different things like that. Like it wasn't a great time for me, and so that's whenever my biggest L was whenever like I I don't remember if I failed a test or if I barely passed. I got like somewhere around a 70. And if you get a 70 in PT school, like that's a no-no. Like you get talked to professors, different things
I
like
guess it
that.
depends where
So
you're
like
at,
I
but
would,
yeah.
yeah.
Because St. Augustine, where I just left, you're good. 70s. If you make all 70s, you pass everything.
Oh,
Yeah, well, it's an
what?
accelerated program, so that's why some of this
Okay.
information, but at Hampton, so I've been to two other PT schools. At Hampton, it was 84. If you're not hitting 84,
Yeah.
you're anything below 84 is bad. Then you
Yeah.
go to St. Augustine, 70s. If you can keep a 70, it's good. So it's crazy how it varies from school to school. And then you know Old Dominion, which is right across from Hampton, because we had an adjunct professor, same test, everything. If you got an 84, but let's say over there, same test she gave. If you were going to ODU, if you got an 80, you were good. You know,
What?
yeah. But then we were literally getting the same test. So
That's
it's
crazy.
crazy how it goes. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So you would say that your biggest was failing or almost failing. At
No.
okay. So was
I
and
just
if you don't
remember
mind
it
me,
was a whole
oh, say
mess.
that again.
It was a whole
Oh,
mess.
I feel that. I feel that. So, with the depression and stuff, was it triggered just by personal social stuff, or was it because there's so much pressure from the school, that was building up on you?
I would say it's a mix of
Okay.
both. Like PT school doesn't stop for life, and life don't stop for PT
Okay.
school.
No, 100
Um,
percent.
so like uh, I had lost a couple people that year, very close to me. And then like you got 5 tests you're supposed to take in a row, and you're supposed to be still hanging out with your friends, and you're supposed to be doing all this stuff because your patients, your future patients, are counting on you, and like all the pressure of just random stuff just popping up, and like something was gonna break, and it was really weird because even whenever I went in and I went over the test with my professor, I was like, I know all of these answers that I got wrong. I was just in a horrible mindset. Like it was awful. Um, and so like I needed help, and I didn't ask for it until it was like I took that L, and I was like, all right, I can't fail out of this school. I've dropped too much money to be here. I've sacrificed too much stuff to be in this position. So, like, I guess it was an L, but it was a necessary L, because after that, I was like, oh, I got a B. It was like a whole new world unlocked for me. Like I was like, oh, I can get a B. I can get a B in class, and so it freed me up to do like just all this other stuff that I had been putting off. Like I was going to poetry slams on Fridays, and I was hanging out with my friends I hadn't seen in a long time, and just doing all the things to keep my mental health where it needed to be.
Good.
That I was sacrificing so that I could reach a 4.0 that really nobody cares about.
Exactly right. Nobody cares about. You're absolutely right about that. It'll help your ego, I guess, but that does not necessarily mean you're going to be the best clinician, and that does not necessarily mean you're going to be able to relate with your patients the best, because there are people who sometimes who are very book smart, but they're just not relatable to humans. So um, I guess what does it matter if you're the best clinician if you
It
can't
doesn't.
even connect with your patients? You know what I'm saying? And I've seen that because like my mom is in the healthcare field, and it's interesting how you will have some people who have the brains, but they just don't know how to interact with people. So that's interesting. So you brought up a point about being the of course, and I think a lot of people as minorities in PT school, black, Asian, whatever, you do feel a little bit of a pressure. For me, I had a very weird experience because I was at Hampton, and even though a lot of the HBCUs are really kind of like, I have a friend who's at Alabama State, and he's one of 3 black kids in Alabama State.
Yeah.
Hampton was a very different. It was very different. There was in my class. I think my class was just an anomaly. It was 23 girls, 5 guys, and all the guys except one was black, and then pretty much all of the class, we might have had 2 white people, and then um, a couple of Hispanics. But so that was a little bit different. And then of course transitioning to St. Augustine, it was a little bit different. But how growing up, because there's different people who have different kind of backgrounds. Did you grow up around a lot of mixed races? Did you grow up around mostly white people, black people? How was your upbringing? And then going into school, how did that kind of affect you?
Um, it's really interesting. My background's weird.
Mm.
So, growing up in Indiana, I was in the middle of
Oh,
nowhere, Indiana.
Indiana.
Sorry, Cloverdale,
Okay.
Cloverdale, Indiana, Poland, Indiana, where everybody that was not my family was
Mm.
white. Every single person that I grew up with, hung out with, was white, and so it was very strange to suddenly realize like I was
Mm.
black. Like whenever I was like 7 or 8, it was like, oh,
Mm.
um, maybe that's why like things are different for me. So it was so strange to suddenly realize you're not like everybody else around you. Um, and then I had a big family, so like my family was like that never really affected me too much then.
Mm.
And then moving to St. Thomas, where everybody's black, it was just a whole different thing, like a whole
Ah.
different. And so like I had these two competing cultures, like, and I'm really happy that that happened because I got two completely different upbringings. One where I had 30 people in my class. I'm pretty sure in my entire elementary school, a few hundred people, all of them white, other than my family members. Um, and then moving to St. Thomas, I was homeschooled there, but like I just saw so many black people doing so many different things, And then moving to Texas is where I went to high school, and we had like 3,000 people in my school, and everybody was different. Everybody like weird, like it was just a melting pot. Um, but it was strange because like on my basketball team, on my track team, I'd be hanging out with like all the black girls or whatever. And in class, there was I think probably 7 of us in like the AP classes and whatever, you know. Um, so it was just like just growing up, I've just been around so many different groups of people from so many different places, and I think that that really informed the way that I interact with people and how I treat people. If we're talking about my PT cohort, 52 of us went all the way through the program. We started out with 54. Um, and there were 3 black people in our program, and we're in Dallas, so you would expect there to be more black people. Um, and so, like looking around, we had one hijabi, and I was like, oh, we were like, whoa, like, and I just remember the first day looking around, counting the black people. You know, we counted each other, and then like 3 of our professors said something about this is the most diverse class we've ever had, and we were like,
what? What? I feel
okay.
that.
And so after that, I was like, that's unacceptable, because even at UNT is a minority serving institution. It's classified as that because of how many minorities go to the school. And so, like, even there, I was surrounded by just people from all different cultures. And so it was very strange to walk in a room with a bunch of white people and find out that this is the most diverse class they've ever had. And so after that, like, I was like, man, we got to do better. And that's kind of how I ended up, like, starting a student org for just everybody who wanted to join, that wanted to learn about different cultures and different things like that. And like it kind of informed the way that I interacted with professors, and just my whole entire experience at PT school was because I think of my upbringing of being like, I need more than one culture in my life. I've experienced it throughout my entire life. Everybody needs it. Everybody benefits from having people that don't look like them around them.
Right.
So yeah. I don't remember what the question was.
No. Just you answered it. Yeah, it was really just how you kind of were brought up. Because for me, you know, I was a little different. I was, you know, I only grew up around, you know, black people. So the only time I would see other races was when I went to Walmart with my grandma. You know, I went to an all-black private school. This is crazy, right? I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah.
You know, so all-black private school, all-black church. You know, Pathfinders on Sunday, all black. Church on Saturday, all black.
All black.
School. At that time, it was all black. Now it's like a lot mixed. So I think for me, there was a little bit of an adjustment. Of course, you know, for me, when I started really just interacting with people of other races was when I was talking to you about the swimming. When you start entering into that world of lifeguarding, teaching WSI, and private swimming lessons, of course, you don't see very many black people. So that's really how when I started working in college and at the Gap, I worked at the Gap. I worked at a fitness center doing swimming lessons and stuff like that. So that's when I was able to kind of start even talking to other races, because I didn't even see, you know, college, all black. There was one white guy named Matt on our college. Literally 1,800, small college, but 1,800 kids, you know. So I think that's good, because people there's a lot of stuff, of course, that's going on in the world, racism, you name it. But this is one thing people are always going to kind of, what I've really realized is they're going to segregate themselves. Even if it wasn't color, it would be something else, you know. So people find ways to kind of segregate themselves. But I believe, from what I've, you know, collected, that it's important to be able to kind of maneuver all these situations, you know, especially if you want to be in things like physical therapy, or, you know, MD, ND, MD. Like my sister is a dentist now, and you know, so once you start rising up, even if you go to HBCU, you're gonna still be met with a lot of different, cultures, and you'll be the minority. So, that's interesting. That's good though. That's good you were able to, um, I guess, feel comfortable enough, but you had that experience, so the shock wasn't, because you got the shock of stress. Well, you were commuting, so at least you were able to kind of stay home, but still, you got the school stress and then the other stress that comes in. So, that's good. So, what do you see your life like in the next 7 years?
Oh.
Hey, hey. Hello.
Hey, I have no idea.
She's just floating now.
I'm, I'm like, whoa, I could do whatever I want.
She has this ultimate sense of freedom.
Like for real.
Okay.
Like I'm being completely serious when I say like going from the world of a student athlete where everything is like, oh, you here at 8 a.m. If you need training, you come here before 8 a.m. and like this is what you do. Going from that to PT school, it's like, oh, here's your schedule for the next 3 years of your life from 8 to 5 every single day, and sometimes later, sometimes earlier. Going from that to no one is telling me.
Okay, let's say I ask you a better question. How do you envision, would you like your life to look like in career wise, health wise, because you're clearly into fitness and a lot of us are into that, financial, personal, whatever, how would you like your social wise, fitness wise, career wise, how would you like your life to look in the next 7 years?
There's a few things I want to do.
Uh-huh.
I I want to get into more health education type
Okay.
stuff. I'm very into preventative healthcare rather than reactive healthcare. I'm like, if we can stop people from having heart attacks, we don't have to treat the heart attack. So that's one thing I really want to get into. And I think I'm going to start that here in a little bit pretty soon. Um, I'm also a writer. I write, right now, I just started writing blogs for Jackrabbit. So it's a little, not little, but it's like a running fitness store. Um, and so I want to grow that part. I'm really enjoying just like really diving into a subject and just telling people about it. And like, I write poetry, so it's kind of like combining two things that I
We're gonna have
like
to have you
writing.
spit some poetry, Dr. Victoria
Oh,
Poetry.
don't do that.
Hey, open mic,
I
open
haven't written
mic.
anything new.
All right, keep it going, keep it going.
I haven't written anything new in a minute. But mostly I think it's because I've been studying. So I'm like, I have some extra bandwidth now. I should write something.
For sure, for sure.
So I want to get more into writing. I want to get into preventative health, and I really, really like ortho. But like throughout school, I never found like that niche that I really liked. All of my clinicals looked completely different from each other, and so like I really like sports. I really like ortho, but I don't really, really like babies.
Babies, okay.
So,
Do babies
so
need
like
PT? I don't know. You tell me.
babies need PT. Some
Oh,
babies
they
need
do?
PT.
Okay. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Now that I think about it, yeah.
But like
All right.
pediatrics, they still need PT
You're right.
too.
You're right. You're right.
So like I don't know, in a couple of years I might go into pediatric
Okay.
sports. Thinking about coaching, I don't know. I'm telling you, I could do anything.
She's unstoppable.
I could do anything. At the moment, I'm really looking into travel physical
Yeah.
therapy.
Okay.
Like so, that's what I'm getting into.
Okay.
But if I do find like a permanent position somewhere that really speaks to me and it just seems to fit, hey, I could do what I
She
could
could
do
do whatever,
anything. There's
guys.
no syllabus.
She gonna take over the world. I feel that.
I'm just gonna do it, you know? And I feel like over the next 7 years, I hope that I have accomplished what I want and that I'm happy. And I think that as long as like I'm dipping my toes in different things and exploring new things and just remaining like with like I don't know, like childlike wonder is
Curiosity.
what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, 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 yeah,
curiosity.
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to always stay curious and
100%.
like I don't want my career to look exactly the same from one year to the next. I want to change and grow like I do.
Mm. I like that. I like that. Yeah, uh that's something that it's easy to get wrapped in once you start going down the rabbit hole of the 9 to 5s and the working. So yeah, I like that you said that. So doctor, and I'm gonna let me not butcher it, guys. I was trying not to Junious.
I know earlier you was like, let her introduce herself.
Did I get it right?
Yeah,
Oh,
you got it
cha-ching. All right, Dr. Junious. I'm gonna let you take it away with the last words. Any final thoughts for the people? You know, anybody who is looking at this channel. I'm gonna let you get the last final thoughts before we get you out of here. I appreciate her taking her time out and just chatting with us a little bit today about some of her journey. And I'm gonna give you the last words.
Okay. I have a quote from one of my favorite motivational speakers, Les Brown.
Oh, okay,
I don't
okay,
know.
okay. She's
Yes. And he does this thing with some of his audiences, which I'm like, oh, that speaks to me. And he says, repeat after me. Like, I will ask for help, not because I'm weak, but because I want to remain strong. I will ask for help and I won't stop until I get it. So, like, that's been a hard lesson for me to learn throughout this whole journey. I didn't really have anybody to look up to in the healthcare field, probably for the first 5 or 6 years of my journey. It wasn't until I got into PT school where I was like, oh, let me ask this professor if they can assist me and figure out what I want to do and different things like that, or like give me information on scholarships or anything like that. Like, if I would have just asked for help, and I know it's very hard for some people to do that, me being one of them, I was very hard headed and very much like, let me be independent, and I'm independent. I can do it by myself. I've been doing it by myself, and I was just like very much like, I'm not a weak person. I can do this. I've been doing this. Um, but I needed help. Like, this is hard. You need to know where your team is. You need to know who your team is. You need to know who your support system is. And if you don't have one, ask somebody. Ask somebody your support system. Ask for help in whatever you're doing, and you'll be surprised how many people are willing to help you and like just rooting for you and trying to push you to be your best. Um, and so like even whenever I was talking about earlier, when I took my L, like I needed to ask for help. I couldn't do it by myself. I could have done it by myself. I might have broken a little bit in the process, but if I wanted to remain whole, if I didn't want to break, if I wanted to remain strong, I needed a little bit of support. So like, yeah, ask for help and not because you want to remain strong. Ask for help before you need it.
gotcha.
So like, yeah,
S-
that's what I leave you with.
Sweet. All right, guys, this is Dr. Victoria Junious. Thank you so much for coming on. And we are signing out right now. Thank you again.